Hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am an ISFP. In this video, I want to talk about what it means to me to understand personality type. I have known that I'm an ISFP for, I don't really remember what it was, but I'd say at least 6 years. I remember that I was working my old job for still quite a while after I found out, and I've been gone from that job for 3 years. So I'm pretty sure it was about 6 years ago or so that I really learned about personality type and found out that I was an ISFP and began to understand what that means. Shortly thereafter, because of my interest, I was able to find out that my wife is an INFP, that one of my close friends, I don't get to spend time with him much anymore because we worked together at the time, but I found out that he's an INFP. And then over time, I began to find out what personality types my kids are. And understanding personality type has really been a big deal for me. I've poured a lot of hours into getting my brain around what all of this means and the impact and the ramifications of it. I understand that huge parts of the scientific community and the psychology community do not accept this concept of personality type, or at the very least, it's not considered like a mainstream science because in some senses it's not provable. But I will tell you that I have seen beyond any shadow of a doubt that it is correct in so many ways. So I want to give you some examples of ways that it has really impacted me to understand personality type. So if you're a person who cares about personality type, this might help you to put it into words maybe. Or if you're a person who's maybe learned a little bit about this and you're still not sure, let me just help you to understand from my perspective why it's such a big deal. First of all, understanding myself. Understanding myself as an ISFP has helped me to know, first of all, that the way I think is not peculiar in a sense. I mean, like, I'm not the only person on planet Earth that sees the world through the lens that I see it, or makes judgments about the world through the lenses that I judge it, or that I make decisions or anything like that. So, I've had people, because of my focus on extroverted sensing and my wanting everything to be a certain way, a lot of times, I've had people say, like, there's something wrong with you, you're messed up. And I'm not. I mean, I'm not saying that I can't learn to communicate better about my extroverted sensing and that I can't be kinder about things like my extroverted sensing and my extroverted thinking, but I'm not broken. I am wired a certain way. My brain is wired a certain way. My brain is wired to think through the cognitive functions in a certain order, and that's okay. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it absolutely has made me more comfortable in my own skin, in a sense. But more importantly than that, because while that is important and while that was an issue for me, really the bigger issue that I had was quite the other way around. It was pride. And that is that I went through life sometimes I might think, man, maybe I am messed up. Maybe there is something wrong about the way I think. But more often than not, I saw the way other people thought and the way other people behaved based on how they thought. And I thought, there's something wrong with them. I thought, they're not like me. I remember there was a song by a band called the Bloodhound Gang, and it basically said, I'm gonna clean it up to make it family friendly, but it basically said, I don't really care if you don't like me because I don't like you because you're not like me. And when I was young, that was pretty true of me. And there were people, I can't remember who, but I remember one time somebody even said, oh, that's your theme song. That's totally you. And I think as I went through life, I was like, well, the way that I think and the way that I see the world is the right way. So what's wrong with all these other people? Why aren't they seeing things the way I see them? Why aren't they placing importance on the same things that I'm placing importance on? And understanding personality type has helped me to realize that the reality is people do not perceive the world the same way, and they do not make judgments about the world in the same way. And I'm not just talking about their environmental experiences throughout their life. I mean, yes, if you had a parent that was like, you absolutely stand for the national anthem, then you might grow up going, okay, I should always stand for the national anthem. And if you had a parent that was like, we don't care about that, it doesn't even matter, then you might grow up thinking it doesn't matter. But it's the process by which you make your judgments, how much you care about what your parents have to say, how much you care about what other people have to say, and all sorts of other concepts, right? Watch my videos on the cognitive functions, and that'll help you to, gain a better understanding of what I'm talking about there. But the point is that how we process information and how we make judgments about it is different. The way that I perceive and judge is so much different than the way that, in at least in the perceiving side. On the perceiving side is so much different than the way that my INFP wife perceives. Or the way that I judge is so much different than the way my ISTP son judges. Or the way that I perceive and judge are so much different than the way my INTP daughter perceives and judges. And so instead of going through life saying, well, the way that I perceive things and the way that I make decisions makes so much sense and I'm obviously so right, and you people, there's something so wrong with you, what's wrong with you? Understanding personality type has humbled me. It's helped me to see that other people are wired differently, and that's good. That's the way that they were made. I am a firm believer in God, and I do believe that God wired us that way. But even if you aren't a believer in God, you can still conclude, if you believe that we evolved to be like we are, or whatever it is that you believe, you can still conclude that through whatever means we got this way, our brains are wired the way that they are for a reason. And I've come to the conclusion that of all the 16 personality types, there's not a good one and there's not a bad one, right? I mean, when I remember when I first learned that I was an ISFP and I started reading about what it meant to be an ISFP, I was like, oh, what are the odds? This is so cool. I got the perfect type. Like I got the best type that there is, because all I was doing was reading stuff that was true about me. And I thought a little bit more about myself than I really should have. And so I was like, oh, this is great. I'm the type that I would most want to be. Now, the truth is, in many ways, I am still the type that I most want to be. I like who I am. I like being an ISFP, but I appreciate other people so much more. Another area is in my marriage. My communication with my wife is so much better because she's an INFP, I'm an ISFP, and the more that we understand personality type, the more that we can understand one another, the more that we can communicate with one another, the more that I can see what matters to her and try to communicate on her level, and the more she can see what matters to me and she can communicate on my level. I think in very concrete terms. Everything's in the physical for me, but she thinks in much more idealistic and grand terms in a way. And she sees the big picture and I see all the details. And sometimes it's hard to bridge that gap when two people are trying to work through an issue or communicate, but understanding that has made a huge difference. One of the biggest areas that has played a role in my life is with my INTP daughter. My INTP daughter was a complete and total enigma to me, and why shouldn't she be? I mean, of my top 4 cognitive functions, her top 4 cognitive functions are completely different. We don't share any, and not just in the same place, but like at all, anywhere. And so for her, when she was growing up, I really looked at the way that she was when she was little, and I was like, she's broken. There's something wrong with her. I need to try to help her to understand how to be correct and how to be, the type of human being she needs to be. But as I began to understand her cognitive functions and her thinking processes and what matters to her, she's much more about true false than she is about good bad or right wrong. And I'm much more about good bad than I am about true false. She's much more about future and big ideas, and I'm much more about the here and now and the details. So that, that led to a lot of conflict between me and her when she was younger, but our relationship is so much better now because I understand that for so many years I tried to communicate to her through the lens of emotion. And anytime anyone communicates with her with emotion, she tends to shut down because she can't process that. It doesn't make sense to her. There's no logic there. And so my understanding the brain, the mind of an INTP better has helped me to be a better dad to her. It's helped me to be a better husband to my wife. It's helped me to be a better dad to my other children. I have an ISTP son, an INFP son, an ISFP daughter, and an ESFP daughter, and I'm able to understand them so much better because I understand their cognitive functions, their thought processes, and how they, how they process information. The other thing is, friends. There are people that I know that my next door neighbor, ENFP, awesome guy, one of my favorite people on planet Earth. And, we don't see the world exactly the same way. We don't think exactly the same way. But trying to understand an ENFP has helped me to be able to just relate to him better, understand him better, which is awesome because we have this great friendship. And then, like the more I try to understand my mom and her personality type, or the more that I try to understand anybody, it just helps so much. And even sometimes, I found there are people in my life who I don't care for particularly. They're not my favorite people in the world. But if I'm able to, over time, determine their personality type, I can at least, at the very least, even if they still rub me the wrong way, and even if I still don't want to be around them, I can at least check my, my pride at the door, and I can put on a little humility, and I can say, I may not like the way this person behaves or talks or interacts, but that doesn't mean that there's not a reason for it. It doesn't mean that in his mind or her mind, this doesn't all make sense. This person's behavior, the words that they choose, the way that they behave, so on and so forth. It might make a lot more sense. And if I would just take the time to try to understand this person's cognitive functions, then I would better understand what matters to them. People with extroverted feeling, for me, as like their hero function, that's like the most difficult thing in the world for me. Okay, people with extroverted feeling, they really oftentimes kind of go all over me. They rub me the wrong way. Not a big fan in many ways, but if I will check my personal biases and my pride at the door and put on a little humility, then I can say I may not enjoy the thought of being around this person, but this person probably has a lot that I could gain from if I'm willing to submit myself to the concept of kindness and understanding and patience and humility. I think of Galatians chapter 5, where Paul says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And sometimes if I'm around a personality type that I may not care for, if I can remember that and practice, love, putting this person before myself, joy, finding joy in the situation regardless, kindness, being kind to somebody, even if I don't understand their motives or why they're making the decisions they're making, why they're saying the things that they're saying. I can glean wisdom from probably almost every human being on planet Earth if I'm willing to try. And understanding personality type helps so much in that regard. So I personally believe that understanding personality type has made me a better person. It's made me a better husband. It's made me a better dad. I think it's made me a better son. It's made me a better friend. And it's made me a better acquaintance to other people. And if you're just now getting to know personality type in general and you're not sure what you think of it, I would just encourage you to keep pushing for more learning and understanding, because I think that you can benefit greatly from knowing more about yourself and about the people around you. And if you're deep into personality type and you're already, years into it with tons and tons and tons of research, like I myself am, then kudos and keep going, because all you're doing is doing good for yourself and good for the people around you. So let me give you a thumbs up. And if you would please subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I know I just started this channel like a couple weeks ago, and I'm already at 35 subscribers today. So all of you new subscribers, if you're watching this video, I just want to say thank you so much for subscribing. Please tell your friends. That would be awesome. And see if you can get the word out, because I'd like to see this channel go, up and up and up, because I don't know, that would just be cool. And I'd like to get my thoughts out there. I know that there are a lot of people who are big in the in the personality type community, and a lot of them I really respect and enjoy. And I don't know if there may be a lot of ISFPs out there who are doing videos, and maybe I've just missed them. But I want to make sure that we ISFPs have a voice, and part of that is me making these videos, but part of that is also me hearing your comments. You ISFPs out there, help me to better understand who we are as a group better. So that when I make videos for my little part, I'm not saying I represent the whole ISFP community, I'm just one little Joe Schmo out in the middle of nowhere, but to whatever degree these videos matter to other ISFPs, I want to make sure that I'm properly representing us. So thank you so much for your comments, thank you so much for subscribing, and have an awesome day. I really appreciate you. Bye now.